This episode of the Inferno is presented by Pearl River Resort. Pearl River Resort is the perfect place to spend a game day weekend. With gaming, golf, dining, entertainment, and more, there's no better place to stay and play. Welcome back to another week of the Inferno. Mark Ingram, the UAB Athletic Director. Here we go, baby. I'm Tony Curry. We do it every single week. And, of course, this week I have a very special guest. It is the brand new softball coach for the UAB Blazers. It is Coach Taylor Smart. She'll join us here in just a few minutes. And, of course, today's episode rundown is brought to you by Legacy Credit Union. Legacy Credit Union, the official credit union of UAB. Yes, we'll be talking about what in the world just happened this past week against ULM. We're going to talk about a monster game. Can we have a little pig roast going on, a 21-point dog? Can we get inside that number and then perhaps get an outright win? We'll see what the UAB Blazers can do against Arkansas. We do have softball season on the way, and we'll talk about that. Plus, fan reaction. We'll talk just a little bit about that. And then we're going to be getting the band back together again. You, me, I know you used to play drums. I used to be a trumpet player. We'll have to make it sound like a Chicago type of thing because I play horns, right?
Good.
So we're getting the band back together again. We'll talk about that again. It all comes up here thanks to you for Legacy Credit Union. There's fine folks. Legacy Credit Union, the official credit union of UAB. We're going to take a look at this week in Blazers Athletics up next.
Trent Dilfer here, head football coach of the UAB Blazers. I want to tell you about my friends at Legacy Credit Union. Legacy began as University Credit Union in 1955 and remains committed to UAB faculty, students, alumni, and fans. Not only do they support the Birmingham community, but they are also proud sponsors of UAB and UAB athletics. Visit legacycreditunion.com and find out why you should become a member today.
The Inferno here with Mark Ingram, the UAB Athletic Director, Trent Dilfer, of course, the head coach of your UAB Blazers, coming off that one stung this past week. He's missing the show today because, of course, he was speaking at a quarterback club. Andy Kennedy, as we get ready for basketball season coming up here shortly. He's also going to join us here on the Inferno from a weekly standpoint, so we'll look forward to that. Tough. I mean, I'm a Blazer fan. I love the Blazers.
Hard to watch.
We like to pull the curtain back on things here, and we're going to be straight up. We're not going to put sugar frosting on top of a stinker here, but this was a real game, and it was just really, and of course, under these pretenses, and that is the fact that Bryant Vincent, of course, was at UAB. He goes to ULM, and he's got a bunch of your staff with him, and somehow they pull out a victory, and it just wasn't even a fun game to watch. But just talking about that,
It was horrible to watch. First of all, this past week was a great week, and I don't want, we have 18 sports, and sometimes we act like we only have 2. We had a great week in men's and women's soccer. Women's soccer beat Ole Miss and Southern Miss. Men's soccer got another win against North Florida, which is a big win for us. We had 0 wins last year in men's soccer. We've already got 2. David Lilly, our brand new coach there, is just doing a dynamite job. And then in volleyball, we won 2 games, one of which was against Cincinnati. So, we beat 2 Power 4 teams in those sports, meaning women's soccer and volleyball. Good for them. That's hard to do and not expected in the modern era the way money moves and the transferability of kids, and it's becoming harder and harder to do that. So hats off to them, first of all. But, yeah, look, man, the Monroe game was awful to watch because the thing that we all count on is being good at offense, and it's as if we had never practiced before on offense, and which is obviously not the case. And I told Coach, I said, man, it's like we outsmarted ourselves. And I kind of felt that way a year ago against Navy. When we went to Navy, I was like, what are we trying to do? This is not who we are. What are we trying to accomplish? Are we trying to set up another? Are we running this play to set up another play, which sometimes you do? And defensively, the whole off season, people would say, man, how's the football team going to be? And you start talking, they go, well, really what I mean is how are we going to be on defense? Because we were so good on offense, right, last year. And, man, our defense played great. And if you just look at the score, you're going to say, no, we could, they scored 32 points. All right, 7 was a pick 6, which, by the way, was a 70-yard touchdown if he pump fakes like he was supposed to and throws it to the receiver who he'd still be running. And so that's 7 points. Lee Beebe, who I'm telling you, and Coach agrees, he's an early draft pick. Lee Beebe is a fantastic running back. We hand it off to Lee Bibby, who slips on his own. He's not pressured. He's not tackled. Falls down for a safety. So there's 9 points that's not on the defense. First series of the game, they kick off to us. The opening kickoff return, which we're supposed to fair catch and take on the 25. Player feels inspired, brings it out instead, gets to the 14. First play from scrimmage, we throw a beautiful pass, 15-yard pickup right into the hands of a great receiver who drops the ball. You're like, okay, between the kickoff return and that, 2 plays in, what is going on? Next play, guard holds. He's supposed to cut. Instead, he blocks high. They call him for a hold. It's a first down. They bring that back half the distance to the goal line. Now you're punting from the 7-yard line. We give them the ball in the 32. The point is, we give it the ball in the 32, and our defense has to come defend that, and they hold them to a field goal.
Yep.
That's good. That is really good defense. And I think we all agree that a year ago probably would not have been able to do that. Mm-hmm. We allow a block punt later in the half where they get the ball on, I don't know, the 15 or 20-yard line. Now defense got to go out there and defend from the 15 or 20. So the score, they had really one good drive, and it was their first touchdown.
Yep.
I want to be careful not to take anything away from Monroe, who had an intensity level that outmatched ours. At the end of the day, that's really what happened.
Their fan base was pretty fired up.
They
too,
were
right?
fired up. Should be.
Did, yeah.
It was a huge win for them, and so good for them. That first touchdown was a legitimately good drive by them. Everything else was largely due to our inability to move the football. And it was so frustrating to watch because we did put all these pieces in place on the defense, and we know what we're capable of offensively. And it was like, pulling your hair out.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, I'm sitting there watching the game, and they're sitting at 6 points. And again, I was talking to you before the show that obviously they're putting up 37 points a ball game last year, and I had no doubt they were going to do that, at least that against ULM.
Sure.
I thought maybe the over would come over just because ULM could score some points as well, and we know that Bryant Vincent's an offensive coordinator kind of guy. I asked you this before. What kind of practices was UAB having going into that? And what
Great
do you
week,
typically see? Because normally when you have great practices, you have good game prep.
Yeah, and coaches, look, every coach is different. I mean, this staff, when they don't have a good practice, Trent's like, we did not practice well yesterday. He'll say that. We got to have a better practice today. We did not have a good practice yesterday. He doesn't just always, code everything rosy and, yeah, every day's perfect. Every day's, our guys are in it. He does not do that. So when he says we have a good day, I believe that we did have a good day. I think I heard him say to the team several times during the week, this is their Super Bowl. They're going to play like the Super Bowl. You got to match or exceed their intensity, or it's not going to be what you think. And it just didn't sink in. Yeah. It just did not sink in, and it's not for lack of trying. And to me, that was the difference. Is they just had a different intensity level that they brought. And then, when you in these games where the underdog is in it, and in this case, was ahead. But not by a lot, not really. The longer that game goes and they're in it, their adrenaline builds, and their belief that, oh my goodness, this could happen, and the favorite, us being in this case, starts to kind of get defeated, like mentally, emotionally down on yourself, and it's the weirdest psychological thing. But that's part of the game.
Why is UAB 1-7 in Game 2 since 2017? That is the strangest.
Crazy.
I mean, I love looking at trends. We all love these numbers. They're 13-0, blah 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 blah, and it's just the most amazing thing. But 1-7 in Game 2s, they just cannot win Game 2s.
I'll bet our fans don't know that. I bet our fans don't know that we are 1-7 since we reinstated football. 1-7 in week 2. We beat Akron.
This is a program is at a winning record every year, but last year.
I know. And look, Georgia was one of those. Miami, Florida was one of those during the pandemic year. That's it. The other games are all games like Georgia Southern, Lafayette, Monroe. What is going? Coastal Carolina, Liberty. What is the deal? I'm not talking about juggernauts now. 1-7. It's the wildest thing.
Well, let's see what they do in Game 3 because they got a monster coming up this weekend. 3
They'll be
touchdowns
calling
the
the
dog.
Hogs.
Well, you know what? And Arkansas obviously had a kind of a weird game this past weekend. They ended up getting them done by 7. But what do you look for whenever you're obviously playing any school in a Power 5 conference, a Power 4 conference now, I guess, in an Arkansas and SEC? You got to put on game face and bring your best. So what do you expect this weekend?
The players love it. So I don't know I don't know what the fans think, the players think, but the players love it. They love the opportunity to go play in a big stadium. Remember, they're playing a sport, they're performing.
Yeah.
Who would want to perform in front of a bigger crowd, right? You have the opportunity to perform in front of a bigger crowd, and it's fun. It's fun for them, and they want to do it. And I've been to Arkansas many times. Their old stadium that they've now renovated in Fayetteville is really nice. It's really loud. It is really loud. Of all the places that I played as a player, it was the loudest place I went. Swamp is loud. Played in Legion Field, which was loud. Man, not the same. Between the Hedges in Georgia, Athens, loud. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the Hogs. I don't know if it's the spirit of things. You played at Mississippi State, got the cowbells going. Arkansas is loud. Loud.
You know, when a guy gets up to the free throw line, and what do they say? They're like, he hasn't missed a free throw since last Tuesday. And it always clunks. I'm going to throw out that trend right now because Arkansas, their last 11 games where they've been favored by 21 or more points are 11-0 and 11-0 against the spread. So I'm putting the hex on the Arkansas Razorbacks
you put it
right
out
now.
in the atmosphere.
It's out there. They have covered 11 straight games against the spread when they're a 3-touchdown or better favorite. We'll see if they can get it done. The UAB Blazers this weekend, 3:15 Central, 4:15 Eastern time this weekend in Arkansas, and we'll look forward to that big ball game right here. Those are some of the wonderful things going on there at UAB Blazers. You can go to uabsports.com this week in Blazers Athletics. Of course, always brought to you by Legacy Credit Union. Legacy Credit Union, the official credit union of UAB. A special guest. We have a brand new hire, and we're going to take it to the ball field, the Diamonds, coming up next right here on the Inferno.
The if in life, it's a world of possibilities. If you go for a night out with friends, if you can keep an eye on your money along the way, if you know you have overdraft protection with no fee transfers from savings, when you get a low balance alert, it's easier to say yes to fun. If that sounds good, try Regions Life Banking.
Stay ready for the if in life. Regions Bank embrace the if in life.
Welcome back to the Inferno here, the UAB Blazers, UABblazers.com on the Tony Curry Radio Network as well. I've got a good friend of mine. You know, I do rock and roll. I've been doing rock and roll since like the early 80s, right? Before years. And so I've gotten the opportunity and blessing to bring on a lot of great rock and roll acts, including the Rolling Stones. I'm wearing their shoes today.
These are awesome.
And so I've also gotten a chance to get to know a lot of these guys. And I've always been really just intrigued by what they attract when they're on stage. Today, through a website that I read all the time, we're going to find out what women really dig about rock and roll bands and which member of that band they like the most. You play drums, that could be one of those. We'll talk about that as far as a rock and roll.
Probably not.
Speaking of rock and roll, we got a star in the house. She is the brand new head coach of UAB Blazers softball.
Here she is.
There she
Get
comes.
in here.
There
Come
she
on.
is. She is
Come
Coach
on,
Taylor
on.
Smart. She joined us right here in the Inferno. Coach, how you doing?
He tried to say Taylor Swift several times.
You know what? It's hard not to say Swift after anything.
I
You
know,
say Taylor now,
Any
right?
Taylor is...
But Smart's pretty good,
come on,
too.
Smart. There we go. All right.
She's got it. Welcome into the Inferno. Do you feel the heat?
I do.
Yeah, be careful. Be careful.
Pull that microphone down just a little bit so we can hear you.
Oh, there we go.
Congratulations on. I obviously follow every sport that UAB does. I'm a big fan. Not so much the softball program because I'm so entrenched in the basketball and the football program. But we love having you on board here in the Inferno. And I kind of want you as the hiring man because you made the announcement. But you introduced your coach and how you came to find this wonderful coach here from formerly FAU and, of course, a Troy graduate as well.
Well, and so you just said it. So Florida Atlantic won the championship last year. Taylor was on their staff. So we have been very aware of her. She grew up in Troy, family from Troy. Dad was a baseball coach at Troy. She played at Troy, so she knows Alabama well, then worked at Troy, right? And so basically recruited, I don't know if you recruited our entire roster, but a lot
Majority
of them.
of them, yeah.
And so we had former players, current players, other coaches around the state. You know, when you have these openings, you get a lot of help. And I'm gonna be nice, we'll call it help. But, you know, her name just kept coming up. And we were we were already aware of her, but the more we heard that was positive, the more intrigued that we became, and then once we spoke to her, she's got great energy, which you'll hear. It was an easy choice.
What was it about the UAB Blazers that made you want to take this jump? And obviously, welcome into the Inferno, and you just went to a regionals this past year, so super successful. Welcome in.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, I always say that things keep happening for a reason, and I always joke that UAB, I said no to play here, and then I got offered to be AJ's assistant. And when it came up again, I'm like, okay, something doesn't just keep coming up for no reason. And I'm like, okay. And so when Dan called me, I pretty much was like, I'm going to make it so dang hard for him to not choose me.
That's Dan Carlson, our sport administrator.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and when he first, the first initial conversation, I was like, I'm going to make them choose me. There's no way that they're not going to. And so I was like, I'm going to go home and I'm going to be great. And I think the cool thing about it was obviously the potential and knowing what can happen here. And we had won in American, and I was like, can 100% do that at UAB.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think obviously just knowing that I know the area and I know what it takes obviously to win in that conference, knowing what we had on the team already, knowing we could just develop that, I was like, heck yeah, this is a great opportunity. And so whenever they reached out, like I said, I came here and I was like, I'm going to make them choose me.
Well, what is the I don't know if there's a big difference. I don't even know if this is a good question or not. But when you talk about recruiting, we always talk about recruiting. Obviously, your team's as good as your recruiting prowess. What goes into recruiting softball players? Is it like college football? I mean, how's that work?
I mean, you have to think about it a little bit different, but similar. So in football, usually the strongest, most physical team has a chance to win.
Sure.
Obviously in softball, it's not always like that. You have to understand how to move your body and do all of that and actually develop in a sense. And so having kids you can develop and continue to get better at this level. And I think sometimes obviously a lot of times when people walk off the bus, a lot of Power 5 people are like, oh, they fit the mold. Mm-hmm. And you can get them and they walk up to a field and they can get a stud because of their logo on their chest a lot of times. But at a lot of mid-majors and greater fives, we have to get kids we can see something out of them and what we can develop to make them just a little bit better in one area. So maybe they don't really have a true position, but they can really hit. Yeah. How can we make them usable in a position to not hurt you, but also use their bat for an advantage? Whereas someone at a P5, they just might be a hitter every day. But at our level, we can make them play a position, and a lot of kids want to play defense, and they don't want to just go be a hitter somewhere. Yeah. So it's hey, you can come here, you can play first base, we put you in the outfield, you're not going to cost us a game. We're going to make you be able to catch the ball, and then you can really hit. And so it's trying to find things that you actually can make better within what they already do. And so just trying to continue to make their movement their movement patterns a little more efficient. And so that's the part we started with, and it's been so much fun just kind of getting with them.
You have travel teams. There's all these
so
organizations that football does not have.
Correct. Yeah. So a lot of them all play travel ball. That's where you obviously recruit majority of them. But in there they don't have them all just completely ranked. Yes, there's rankings, but there's not complete rankings. Everyone knows.
You look like you're 16 years old. I'm sitting
that's
here
a
looking
compliment.
at no, that is a compliment.
No, that's
From
what I get
old
told
people,
a lot.
that's a compliment.
Unbelievable.
You're going to appreciate that when you're 50. You're going to really like that.
Totally
Today
agree.
you don't like it, but
I hear that a lot.
I just feel I feel your energy, and I walked in and I thought the coach was coming in. Here comes this 19-year-old walking in, and she's just posing.
Well, off of that, I was at neither here nor there, but my niece is at Children's right now, and they're like, oh, do you play softball at UAB? And I'm like, no, I'm the head softball coach. And they're like, oh, you look like you still play. And I'm like, well, yeah, I could.
By gosh.
Oh, dang, you dang right. I'll go take ground balls with them every day.
So what has changed the most, and that's why I bring this question, what's changed the most since you played and since you're now coaching at UAB? What's changed the most? What have you seen change in women's softball? Is so much over is it the television revenue or obviously.
It's known way more. It's all over TV. And a lot of these kids are actually now watching it. Growing up, I watched baseball. Yeah. That was what was on TV a lot. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a lot more softball on TV. And encouraging them to do that. But also the technology piece is honestly what's changed the most, which has allowed people to continue to develop and get even better in our sport. In baseball and softball, the technology piece is, what's helped everyone, have all these, 4D cameras and all these things to see all this stuff. That's the piece that's allowed the athletes to continue to get better and better. But also in the sport of softball, it is on TV. It is out and about, someone's reached out to us, potentially have the pro team play at our facility this summer, and that would be a really neat experience because getting elite athletes on our campus at our field, that's just going to bring people around. It's grown so much, it's crazy.
You're right about the television. I mean, with the World Series being televised first, and you're right, now a lot of regular season games are too.
Yeah.
But more people see it. And they see how fast it is, how it really is a lot of fun to watch, high scoring, really quick. You see, in baseball, hot shot to the third baseman or shortstop, whatever, yeah, they've got to react and make a play. But in softball, it is boom, boom, like that. Like you see these girls, there's not a lot of time. The distance to first base is not far, and the girls are fast. And so the player has got to make a quick, in the glove, out of the glove, across the field, or else, safe. And so it's just a different, it seems like the same game. It really is not.
But yeah, it's just a lot closer, and you have to be.
The ball's coming fast.
Ultimately, we did some testing, and one of our kids, McKinley Hubbard, hit 70. Her exit velo was like 74 miles per hour, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
I won't lie. So imagine that coming at you about 50 foot away.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty quick.
It's a rocket.
It's a rocket.
And it may not be coming right at you.
But you have to adjust. Yeah, and I think the main thing is like, be an athlete. That's what we talk about a lot, is be an athlete. And a lot of times it's like my first moves are all like my athletic, and then after that my skill comes into play.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when people get in trouble, they're like so stiff and like, oh, I'm just playing softball. I'm like, no, be an athlete. Be an athlete. Play as many sports as possible, because moving your body is all athletic, and then from there you can like hone in on the skill piece of it.
We're so happy to have you here, the brand new softball coach, UAB, Taylor Smart. And of course, today's Coach's Corner brought to you by Pepsi and Viva Health. I've always wondered this, because I think you're playing ball from everything from Pop Warner all the way through high school, regardless of whether it's pickleball or whether it's softball or football or baseball. And then what do you do after you stop playing? And I always think it's really interesting on senior days, on football games, the majority of those guys won't play another snap unless they're playing in their backyard during the Thanksgiving Bowl with their family or something like that.
But you mentioned pro softball. That is now kind of evolving as a thing.
Because that wasn't something that we really have had in the last. So if you're a really great softball player right now, a D1 player, and you're scholarshiped up and all, is there a place for you to go after you graduate?
Yeah, so right now AU Pro is the new kind of thing, is what's kind of taken off. And I think they're changing it, but what they did this past year is they re-pick every weekend. And so, like, based on how many points that you get throughout the weekend, the top 4 people then re-pick the team, which is kind of neat because they're not on the same team every week.
Yeah.
And it kind of creates, obviously, the competitive balance, because, like, you get different points. Like, you get, I think it's 10 points for a single, 20 points for a double, 30 for a triple, and 40 for a home run. And, like, all those things all add up. And so, obviously, you're trying to be the leader on the leaderboard, and they draft from there. And so, like, it kind of creates a piece of, like, competitiveness within the team as well, because if you're at the bottom and your team still wins, you still get points.
Oh.
So they do that. There's some other, like, kind of weird twist with it. That's the main one that, obviously, everyone kind of plays in. Is that, and then there are a couple other leagues. So there's one in Texas. It was like the Monarchs, the Texas Smoke, and there was one more, Coastal something, and they played a little bit of a small shortened season. They don't all play together. That's the problem. And then there's another one called like the Vibe. They played against like Team Mexico and some other ones. So pretty much the NPF, which is the National Pro Fast Pitch, it kind of broke up.
Yeah.
And so there's the problem, I think, ultimately with our sport is we don't all just get together and all play. We have different leagues because of different money in different places.
How many teams are in AU Pro?
They draft 4 on the weekend,
okay.
I think. It might have been 3, but I'm pretty sure this past year was 4. Yeah. But depending on, like, so they do like a shortened season too. They do like a 2-week period, and like the winner gets a good bit of money. I don't know.
That's
I'm not
good.
going to quote, but I think it's like 20 grand or something. And that one, I know when it was shortened, there was like 3 teams. And so like they would just play a 3-game series kind of against each other. But it like I said, it's very, very strange, but also it's like competitive. You're not going to have the exact same people. So like each week you could play with a different person.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of people playing that who are still trying to make like the Olympic team.
Correct. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And
so they're staying sharp.
Coach.
Yeah. Is that
Which
right?
is kind of like, I don't know, everyone's talking about out recruiting, about how like it's kind of crazy that they're still doing that, but like a baseball coach wouldn't go and ask their AD if they could go play in the summer. But like then again, I guess, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of them actually, I know like for instance, Marshall's whole staff.
Oh, I thought you meant that they coached the team that they also played for. No, I know you're right. Yes, there are people who are playing who will still be like an assistant, let's say, on our staff.
No, yes, there are some that actually still play. Like for instance, last summer I got asked to coach one of the leagues, but I knew that we needed to recruit, so like you couldn't recruit, so it's kind of one or the other. Yeah. So if you're pretty much the main recruiter, it really is hard to coach one of those teams, which is a great experience. But ultimately, recruiting's your lifeline, and knowing how heavily involved I was in recruiting, I was like, no, this is not for me right now. I want to keep recruiting. Now, I guess if I ever got old one day and want to recruit, but I love recruiting so much, I can't imagine not wanting to recruit.
Well, good.
Yeah. I was going to say, you love recruiting.
I
Go
love
for
it.
it.
No,
That's
no,
great.
no.
Good.
New softball coach for the UAB Blazers, Taylor Smart, joins us. Coach, thank you so much for stopping by our Coach's Corner, brought to you by Pepsi and Viva Health. We do this thing called like the hot topic of the day, just something a little different.
Smart, not swift.
Smart, not swift.
Two T's.
Two T's for
T's.
smart.
I said
Double smart.
Yeah,
two T's.
I didn't call her Swift, did I?
No.
Okay.
But she is swift, but not.
you keep
Swift
saying
not to
Swift, and I'm like, did I
confuse.
say? Yeah. No. No. And I think Swift's like twice your age, too.
Oh no, Taylor Swift is not 60.
She's 40 years old, isn't she?
Damn it.
Isn't she?
I mean, I guess if I
She's
was
twice
20,
what she looks like. Her youthful personality.
No, man, I think
Maybe.
it's great. It's
Yeah.
wonderful. We were talking about.
First off, you're going to come to a softball game and you're
Yeah.
actually going to enjoy it. Just so you know.
Yeah.
I enjoy whatever I go to.
I know,
mean,
you're gonna come to a
No,
game.
I love it. I'm
Okay,
a
great.
strong supporter of everything. And
I know you just said you didn't really come a lot, and so I'm just telling you,
No,
you're
no,
going to
it's-
come,
Now
it's
you're
not-
going to change that?
and you're going to become a big softball fan.
No. Let me just say this straight, Aaron. Mark knows me really well. It's not because I don't want to. It's because there's only 24 hours in a day, and
Right.
I've got 3 kids and basketball and football program. But I would love to. But
Yeah.
now that I know you,
You're going to.
then let's
Got
let's
to.
go.
Need to get
Let's-
you in a
I'd love to.
batting cage too.
Oh, for sure. You're going to hit off one of our pictures. We're
Get
going to
some
make this,
swings.
and we're going to add it to the Inferno podcast.
Now
Yeah,
you're
be good.
talking the CYO slow pitch softball player of the year in 1984.
Good thing we
in the
played fast
Cincinnati
pitch.
Oh wait, well
Right.
I'm just saying I didn't play fast pitch because I'd have to put my beer down.
Yeah.
I was slow pitch,
Right.
but I was pretty good. I'm
Still
just
good
letting
at
you
it.
But I
Still got
love
it.
softball, and I remember tearing my rotator cuff, and I can remember, and I was like, I think it was like freshman, sophomore, maybe at Xavier University. And I actually cried because I knew I wasn't going to be able to play ball that summer. And my friends were looking at me going like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, dude, I can't play softball this year. And like, think about how these college kids feel when they pull an ACL or something. And you're crying because you can't play softball this summer for the St. John's Red Hawks or whatever it was. Anyway. All right. So we like to talk about music. What are some of your, and I may just totally go off the board here, but what are some of your favorite bands, some of the music you listen to? What were you listening to on the way here today?
Ooh, I can't lie. I don't even know what was on.
Don't be
I was-
nervous.
No,
Don't
I'm
be
not nervous. I was on the phone with a recruit.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest.
Last time you were listening to music,
okay,
it was what?
What was the last thing I listened to? Probably Big Booty Mix, which is
Big-
like it's like the actual mix. You asked what I was listening
Oh,
to.
good. No, I like this, the Big
I'm
Booty
gonna
Mix.
be honest. It changes songs like it's like all over the place.
Yeah.
And you don't have to listen to the whole song.
So Big Booty
That
Mix,
is
is
great.
this something on Sirius XM or something?
No, it's on. Well, I listen to it on Spotify.
Okay. It's not your Big Booty Mix. It's
No,
something you
no.
find. Okay.
It's a actual like station, and they come out. Big Booty Mix 25 is the most recent one.
Okay.
Yeah, you
That's
should
great.
listen. It's all pretty much like
Of
common
all the
stuff.
things I thought you might say, that is definitely not what I thought you
you're
were
welcome
Yeah.
to come to the show anytime. You're perfect.
So good.
Thank you.
So is this the kind of music you play at your ball games? Or could you? I mean,
Yes,
you gotta
it's
finish
not.
the
It's
playing.
not bad. Like
Yeah.
it is definitely G-rated.
Do you have walk-up music
Yes.
for your players?
Yes.
We talked about
walk-up
last
music,
week, and,
yeah.
and I went back and listened to the show, and I was kind of like, I wish we'd done it a little differently because the walk-up thing has kind of gotten a little ridiculous. And to me, I don't want to hear the same song 5 times
For the same player.
for the same player, particularly because a lot of these players pick really bad songs.
I
Some of these
think
songs suck.
we did. Every place is kind of done different. I think some places now are started to go like, well, they have 3 songs and like it changes.
Yeah. I mean,
So like you're not
should
listening
do
to the
that.
same
Yeah,
one all
because
the time.
That's a lot on the DJ up in the booth.
Oh.
That's
Yeah,
a
you
lot
got to be
going
locked
on.
in though. They got to be locked
gotta be
in.
paying
You
attention.
know?
So what's the last live concert you saw?
Probably Dave Matthews.
Okay. So that,
think,
and I
yeah.
pegged that. I had
How
that in my
long
head
ago
because
was
you
that?
seem like a Dave Matthews fan.
Maybe like either that or Need to Breathe. I would say probably like 4 years ago.
I mean,
don't
I
really
saw
go to-
Dave Matthews at Flamingos on Cumberland Avenue when I was 19.
Oh yeah.
I saw it in it. I've seen him a couple times.
They're doing a show up in Nashville next week, and it's
They
them
still
and-
play?
Oh, Dave Matthews Band.
He was
yeah.
down in Boca, like West Palm recently.
How about that?
They
But I think I
still
saw
on
him in
tour.
Atlanta at like.
No,
one of
it's
those.
they're in Louisville, Kentucky, right down the street, and it's called Bourbon and something. It's a Bourbon Trail thing, and it's Dave Matthews Band, and
How about that?
yeah, it's supposed to be
Yeah.
really good. So, what would be a concert that you would love to go to that would surprise the people around you? They would go, I cannot believe she's going to this concert. Like Barry Manilow, or what would be something like it would just totally.
I would love to go to a Pink concert.
Yeah,
Really? Oh,
me and you.
yeah. See, there
Let's
you go.
go.
It's only about $1,800 for a ticket.
Let's go.
Yeah.
We could each go to half the show.
Okay, we could share. There you go. Sharing's caring.
Yeah.
But I mean, that doesn't surprise me that you like Pink. Is there any?
She's
is there any
good.
do you like classical music? Is there anything out there that is just?
No, I can't say I like classical.
You thought she was going to bring Vivaldi Winter right there.
I didn't know. I mean,
She likes the Four
I don't know what
Seasons, but Winter is her
I don't know
favorite.
what these kids listen to these days, Mark.
I listen to a lot of I can listen to kind of whatever is going on right now.
Yeah.
But I do like more upbeat. Like I like Hannah Montana. Like if I just ever in the cages, we need a little bit of upbeat.
Did you mean Miley Cyrus or did you
No,
mean
I mean
Hannah?
Hannah Montana. True friend Hannah Montana is like a good one,
Terrific.
But no, I think a lot of it's just like I can't say a random one that I would just go to. Like,
Did it come up during our interview that I played drums for the Yard Goats or that I was a singer for Super
I was
Loop? Did
trying
that
not to
come
go
up?
there, as a
No,
matter
it
of fact,
didn't.
the Yard
Okay,
Goats.
you played the drums. Okay.
For the Yard Goats, not for Super Loop. I wasn't good enough.
Oh, okay.
We were going to talk about that, and I didn't really think.
Who's the Yard Goats?
Yeah, who is the Yard Goats? It's an upcoming band.
I'm not
It was-
even going to answer that
You almost
question.
got-
Okay,
you
I'll
almost
Google
I'm not gonna
it.
dignify
I'll
that with a
I'll-
response, Taylor.
I'll Google that when I leave.
The Yard Goats was a band that Mark was part of
Man.
that almost got signed to a contract in Nashville back in the
Wow.
70s. Right? No?
70s.
Right, 70s?
I mean, whatever you want to make up is fine.
Yeah, I got
Well, I don't leave a good story from the truth.
That hot topic presented by Pearl River Resort. Coach, anytime you want to stop by the Inferno, come by and see us. You're a blast, and we love having you in, and best of luck. And I guess we get the season starts, February? Something like
Yeah,
that?
we play this fall, though. We play starting September 27th. We play at 3:30 and 6. So it's a Friday, the next 3 Fridays in a row. So it's September 27th, October 4th, October 11th, and October 18th.
Okay, so I'm expecting preferential treatment now. Sit me on the
course.
bench, sit me on the bench, or something like that. Or,
MVP.
You better
Heck,
be there.
you know what? Why don't you let me sit up in the booth and I'll bring my Technique 1200s and I'll spin some records for you, and I'll
that'd
do
be
the
fun.
big bootylicious mix for you.
Yeah.
No, just Big Booty.
Bootylicious mix. Is that what
No,
it's called?
Close enough.
it's
Bootylicious.
just called Big Booty.
Close
Oh, big
enough.
booty.
Okay, yeah,
Big
yeah.
booty. Yeah, it's booty.
Yeah.
Who's
Don't
bootylicious? Wasn't that
encourage.
Beyonce? No, was
Yes.
that was Beyonce. Right?
Beyonce.
See, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
No, that would be surprising if I was at a Beyonce concert.
Now, if somebody
But not
plays
that would be a
good
for-
one.
you think somebody played that for their walk-up music?
No, they could play a little bit of it. It's
What
an
was
hour and
yours?
20 minutes
What was your
long.
walk-up song?
So my freshman year, it was something about rich kids. And then my sophomore year, it was Stunting Like My Daddy by...
Something about rich kids.
No, it was called that. And then another one was a little bit of a reggae song.
Yeah.
And
Please,
then,
please say Jackal. Please say
no, and
Lumberjack
then
by
the
Jackal.
other one was... Ooh, I can't even think of it. I don't know.
Lumberjack by Jackal. Please say that. Everybody knows that song.
What is Lumberjack?
And with that, we'll let her ride. This is the Inferno presented by Pearl River Resort.
Are you getting sacked by monthly fees on your checking account? Trent Dilfer here, head coach of the UAB Blazers. Legacy Credit Union's everyday checking account can get you back in the game. No minimum balance, no monthly fees, and get paid up to 2 days early. Check out LegacyCreditUnion.com for more information and apply today. Legacy, the official credit union of UAB.
Welcome back to the Inferno. Our closing thoughts here brought to you by Pearl River Resort. And of course, if you want to hear the Inferno, you can hear it wherever podcasts are made available. That's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it. It's all over the place, of course. You can also hear it on Tony Curry Radio's podcast platform. It's one of 18 shows I have now. And of course, you can hear that along with all of our previous episodes that you and I used to do.
The old
called the
Director's
UAB Director's Chair. And we got about 700 episodes in there.
300,000 of those,
Yeah,
yeah.
in there. So some great
Do
episodes.
you
as well.
wonder why we hired Taylor Smart? Do you have any questions?
Man,
now?
she's got some great energy. She
Yeah.
really does. And I wasn't, when I was saying this,
a
she
little
was young.
disappointed she didn't know the Lumberjack song.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
not
reevaluate.
surprised. Not surprising to me. But
Upsetting.
she just, I mean, she just has a lot of energy, and she's super young, and she's
Or
gonna-
the
she's-
Yard Goats.
she's
Didn't
gonna-
know the Yard
she's gonna
Goats.
do great. The Yard Goats. You should bring them back. It's really good. Big ball game this weekend. Arkansas Razorbacks.
Yeah.
Best of luck to you. And I you know, there's nowhere to go but up.
Next
after
home
watching this
game,
win.
next home football game, Navy which is in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. So we at Arkansas, then we're off, then we have Navy at home. We'll get the Navy kickoff time next week, a week from today. So we don't know yet what that is, but we got a little payback there. The old midshipmen put it on us last year, so we've got to regroup here.
Kind of a funky year too. I mean, FSU's looks like they're already done. Oregon's been pushed 2 weeks in a row now.
Look, man,
Northern Illinois knocks off Notre Dame.
Yeah,
I mean,
stuff happens. So.
Yeah, it does. It's college football. It happens that way every single week. All right, till next week. This is the Inferno. Check out UABsports.com for Mark Ingram and of course Coach Taylor Smart. I'm Tony Curry. This is the Inferno. This episode of the Inferno is presented by Pearl River Resort. Call it an early weekend and head over to Pearl River Resort, where it's always no work and all play at Silver Star, Golden Moon, and Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. And be sure to catch the big game excitement at Timeout Lounge.